should lean on them, not sit.
Not
or?
sit. I'm not allowed to sit.
Up to you, whatever feels comfortable.
So what about the push-ups?
Yeah, there's some space. Yeah, that's good.
There would be enough.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, when we launched.
This is the last session of the day. Hopefully, we are not going to keep you away from the drinks for too long. My name is KP. I work on the partners team here in London for Facebook. Facebook is, probably you all know what Facebook is, but the best way for me to describe it is an enabler of people to get connected, but also developers to get connected with their own people and their own users. Facebook is available on the desktop, it's available as a mobile, as you have heard today, and it's a multi-platform application. And I'm actually equally excited to be here with you today because I'm not the only one with an exotic accent. And this is a multicultural European audience. And similarly, we have lots of Europeans from the continent that joined us today to share their thoughts and excitement and experiences. So without further ado, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks. So my name is Lorenz. I'm the co-founder of EyeEm, and I'm actually coming over from Berlin, so representing Germany, just as you. And yeah, we do EyeEm. EyeEm is a mobile photo sharing app that is actually location-based. So what we're trying to do is actually find a way to structure all the social photos that are uploaded every day. And we do that by adding additional context. So for example, we know, okay, this is the Truman Brewery. There's a certain event happening right now, other photos being uploaded. What could you possibly be doing? So we smartly suggest you tags and try to make it actually as easy as possible to attach data to a photo. We started out early 2011, team of 18 now, and we are actually at a pretty interesting stage right now. We saw a lot of growth this year. Yeah, crazy things happening. I think I'll tell some more stuff about that later. So at the moment, we actually at around 2.5 million users. We managed to do a great thing that nobody at Facebook really likes, but we actually managed to surpass Instagram in the US App Store for a while. Sorry about that. Yeah, but it was for us a great point in time actually, and obviously a lot of user influx, up to 150K users a day. So yeah, here I am.
Good to have you.
Nice to be here.
Christian.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Chris. I'm from Runtastic, where I'm the CTO mobile. What does Runtastic? So Runtastic provides a whole set of applications, but also hardware and services to keep track or manage your fitness, sports, and health data. So what we want to do is we want to support and motivate users to stay fit or to keep healthy or to train for any event they want to attend. And as I've already said, we not only have a single application, so we have multiple applications in place. Where the most favorite one is named Runtastic as our company's name. And this application tracks your outdoor movement. So whenever you go out for a sports activity, no matter if you are running or biking or walking, you can take your Runtastic application, which measures then automatically the distance, your elevation gain or loss, your calories burned, very important, of course. And so this is our core application, which was our very first application when we started in late 2009. And we opened then our product portfolio from being only outdoor to also support indoor fitness application. And some of you may already know our fitness app collection, for example, where you can track your push-ups or sit-ups with the smartphone. So for the push-ups, for example, you put your smartphone in front of you, and then you do your push-ups, and the proximity sensor counts the number of push-ups you do. You have a training plan integrated, and so you can increase your performance here.
Can you tell us where you came from?
Maybe afterwards, after having some more lunch. With all our applications, so in total we have 14 applications in our App Store so far. And with all our applications, we have now 28 million downloads distributed all over the world. We come from Austria, so the small country next to our big brother Germany. Our main markets are Europe, but we are already the number one app actually also in Japan, for example. So Japan users really love our application and using it very much. And also in South America, we are going better and better.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank
I think
you very
that's
much.
it. First introduction.
Alex?
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm here to represent Spotify. So Konstantinos, not every European is from the continental, part of Europe. So we're based in.
We are in an island. Everything else is the continent.
Of course. We're based in Sweden, and we're in multiple parts of the world as well. What we do is provide music. So we're on multiple devices. We have a pretty nice trajectory right now. We're at about 24 million monthly users. We have also a pretty good trajectory when it comes to monetization. So out of the 24 million, we have over 6 million paying subscribers. And essentially, our mission is to provide free music and through streaming services across all different platforms that are out there.
Thank you. Anthony?
So hey, I'm Anthony Rose, co-founder and CTO at Zeebox, a UK startup, a massive 4-tube stops away in sunny Covent Garden. We're about 100 people. We're a second-screen social TV app. So when you watch TV, instead of millions of people watching alone, in the future you're going to talk to each other and connect around shows, and importantly also participate in the shows directly as broadcasters begin in the future to make new types of interactive programming.
Thank you. Thanks. Good to have you all. So let's start with a little bit of a high-level question, but I think it might be relevant for most of the people in the audience. But when you make a move, or if you have made a move from desktop to mobile, did you actually look at resources in-house to develop your mobile proposition, or did you actually go to an agency or developers that were already experts or considered to be experts on iOS or Android before you moved the development in-house? So what happened with you?
I mean, for us it's a bit different, definitely. So we are mobile app first, right? So it's photography, you need to have it with you. It's about the cameras, it's about filtering photos. And obviously we're heavily using location as well, leverage that to actually gain all the data we attach to the photos. So for us it was clear from day one that we want to actually produce this app in-house, but also, it's actually a bit difficult to find the developers to do that in the first place. So what was definitely one problem for us in the beginning is to, if you want to build up a team, find the right people that are engaged enough to actually join our company and believe in the same things we believe in as founders. So we had a couple of freelancers in the beginning, which haven't been part of the core team, but they've always been actually where we were. So for the core product, I think it's essential that you have it in-house and develop it on your own.
And did you actually move those guys in-house eventually, or you built your own team?
Now we actually have this core team in-house. We did actually one experiment, so what I forgot to mention before, we are actually available in the web, so pretty cross-platform in the web, on iPhone, Android, as well as WinPhone. And WinPhone for us was a bit of an experiment, so it was actually the first time we completely outsourced it. So what we did is actually some product specifications in-house, so the wireframing and design came from us. But actually, we realized that if you then continue developing, it makes a lot of sense to have it in-house. And all the maintenance and advanced user requests afterwards, if it's your core product, I think it's important that you are able to iterate with the people right there and just keep on going like that.
Got it. And Anthony, do you have any advice to these guys running an engineering house of 100 almost people about the value of moving the development in-house when it comes to mobile?
Right, so the question is, do you outsource or do you build in-house? And I think if your product is shoes or selling fizzy drinks, then you probably want to outsource because that's, all about leather, but nothing about apps. But if your business is building technology apps, then you definitely want to do it in-house, not just because that is your core product going forward, but actually because also life is much more fun when you sit with some developers and you come up with an idea and some users come in and you brainstorm it and you build it and you test it, rather than spending your evenings writing lengthy specs which you ship off to some people and then some weeks later they give you stuff that doesn't, and how do you spec out a UX and it doesn't quite feel right. So things are much more fun, and if your business is intending to be long-term in the app space, rather than make an app for an event and then flip it 2 weeks later when the gig is over, then you really want to build it yourself.
Got it. And we heard before that Facebook built the first iteration or version of the iOS and Android app based on HTML. And there was always this debate for the last 4 or 5 years. This is the debate I always hear. HTML versus native. So is the resource, the outsourcing or the in-house decision factor to go native versus HTML, or has it been for you?
I think there are three certainties in life: death, taxes, and the HTML versus native discussion. So it's going to rumble on forever. And obviously, the nice thing about HTML is you build it once and you deploy it everywhere. On the other hand, I think generally the performance is sort of less than stellar everywhere. But apart from the performance, if you want to tap into many of the device features, so Zeebox, for example, can act as a remote control. So it sniffs out your Sky Plus or other set-top box on your network using UPnP, and you just can't do that from the browser. So I think if you go native, you're definitely going to have a better product. But it seems to me, ultimately, how much are you going to spend on this? And if you think about your business and the value of your business in the future, the amount that you spend extra on making a native app is actually inconsequential in the scheme of things. So if you're aiming to be worth many tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, if things go well, then a few $100,000 or more on a dedicated app to get the best possible experience is nothing in the scheme of things. And so in this religious debate, I'm merely pragmatic, and I think where we end up in Zeebox is we make a native app for iOS and for Android, but we have HTML5 plugin zones. And so we try to make show-specific or TV program-specific plugins in HTML5, because that's sort of fairly light touch, and it could be a cool vote or poll, or throw the tomato at Simon Cowell, which is always popular. And that can be done as HTML5, but then your framework is native.
So Chris, with 40 or so apps that you have done, I'm pretty sure that HTML would have been an elegant solution for you, but you decided to go native. Why was that?
Yeah, actually, we went native from day one. Yeah, because, I mean, our Runtastic application, it uses really many sensors from the device. So, yeah, we have the GPS sensor. We also use some accelerometer data and stuff like this. So, and also Bluetooth connection, for example. So, to get a connection with the heart rate chest strap, for example. So, for us, it was, kind of clear that we have to go into the native direction to really can make full usage of all these supported sensors. Of course, there are options available where you can get the current location via HTML5, but as I've said, all these couple of sensors we'd like to integrate in our application, it was quite clear for us to go for the native application, and also the container. So it's definitely a native application, and what you have seen, that's always the topic. It's all about user experience.
Yes.
And so we have made only some small parts, some content display information, which is delivered from as web content. But the main application itself, we always decided from day one that it should be native.
Got it. And Alex, I mean, please chime into that. But
yeah,
I also want you to address another point. So native, for me at least, is either iOS or Android. But there are other platforms out there. So is that something that you guys have considered expanding to, say, BlackBerry, and BlackBerry 10 seems to be a cool device, or Windows Mobile, like EyeEm have tried?
Yeah, let me just give you the our take on the two different ways to develop here. I guess I will be saying kind of the same thing, and it could argue that it's semantics, but the way we look at it is that we try to reduce friction in as many parts of the application as possible, right? So naturally, friction occurs when you put up a registration wall, when you put up a monetization wall, and so on. But there's one piece in friction that normally tends to get overlooked. But if you do look at the applications that are extremely successful out there today, both on Android and on iOS and on the other platforms as well, you'll see that loading time and speed has a lot to do with it. Like, look at games like Candy Crush Saga from King. There's almost no loading time. Look at Clash of Clans from Supercell. Almost no loading time, right? So speed is extremely important way to reduce friction. So for us, it's a matter of looking at our application and thinking, hey, what parts here can we do as, can we move towards a lower sort of loading time, or lessen the resonance, basically. So if we can achieve that with HTML5, we'll do that. If we can't, we'll do native. Some parts of it is both native and HTML5. So.
But have you already looked at Windows Mobile or BlackBerry, or is that an area that you would like to invest, or have you invested already?
We are on both those platforms today. They're not the biggest ones in terms of activity, but we're seeing steady growth. So we obviously prioritize when we make adjustments to our applications.
And that's your take on Windows Mobile as well?
Yeah, Windows Mobile for us, it was like a bit of a sweet-sour experience, I have to say. So we built this product first, and we actually got quite some usage on that as well. But then the thing is, you have to, for us, it's very important to have a rolling process, new features, new filters, stuff like that. And people constantly want to get involved and have their ideas of what needs to be changed in the app. Yeah. And it was very hard to implement that, actually, with an outsourced company.
Okay, so we're talking about mobile, but for me, tablets are also a form of mobile. And for a second screen app that I would normally use on my sofa, you recently released the tablet version of it. How different is a mobile app versus a tablet app?
So, when we launched, like everyone in the room, do you pick mobile, do you pick a smartphone, or do you pick a tablet to focus on? And most usage is going to be on mobile because there are lots of mobile phones. On the other hand, if your initial audience is actually not end users but investors, you need the wow factor, you need to demonstrate something first, then actually you may pick tablet first. And so we went with iPad first, followed by iPhone, Android phone next, and actually we were quite slow in getting out on Android tablets, and we finally launched an Android tablet a few days ago. And I think really just based on the number of incomings, we look at our user voice requests, and some people ask for more channels and some more features, and when Android tablets started getting to number one, then we started going that way. But I think if your choice is, do you start on mobile and make an optimized small interface, and then see how you can fit it onto a big version, or do you start big and see how you can cram it small? I don't know the answer. Starting big leaves you with the challenge of how to make everything on little screens. But what we ended up doing is our iPad version is essentially 3 times 3 columns of the iPhone version, which ultimately made it a lot easier for our development when we realized that and started coding that way.
Interesting. You guys, any thoughts on tablets and the challenges to develop on mobile? I mean, for me, the tablet, in some cases, was the evolution of the desktop side. But when you go actually to develop for a smaller screen, like Anthony said, it's a whole different ballgame. What was your approach on the tablets? And I know Spotify has a tablet app, but does it make sense for the two of you to have a tablet app?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. I mean, in our case, so for our outdoor tracking application, it's quite obvious that taking a much more heavier gadget may...
You can put it on your purse.
Yeah, maybe not that good. So for our Runtastic core application, there is no special tablet version in here. But for our indoor fitness tracking applications, we have made also a special adaptation for the tablets. And this makes absolutely sense because, what we see is, as you have said, it's the replacement for the desktop PC. So people don't buy a desktop PC for their home anymore, they buy the tablet because it's much
Let's
easier.
hear what Spotify thinks on the tablet, and then we ended up with
I mean, we have a great use case in people, coming home and sitting in their sofas and basically, picking up their tablet and starting to play music from their tablets. Either controlling a device remotely, like a speaker or something like that, or directly from the tablet is a big use case as well. So obviously, the tablet is very important to us and our ecosystem of platforms. What I think is extremely interesting and kind of surprising as well was the data that came out, I think, a couple of days ago, where you can now see that in Q1, the number of Android tablets that were shipped was close to 30 million. That's compared to the 20 million that Apple shipped. So all of a sudden, the Android market share is very interesting to look at. So I'd definitely, if I were you, I would definitely look into how to optimize for maybe the Samsung Galaxy Tab and multiple other devices that are using Android, because there are not many apps out there that are highly customized for an Android tablet experience.
Yeah, with us, it's very simple. So I think nobody looks more stupid than a person taking a photo with an iPad. That's a bit of this thing. I mean, obviously, like using it as a camera looks a bit geeky in a way. So that's why we focus. And we actually now know that a lot of people spend time in our app just consuming photos, which is a form of entertainment in itself. So we plan to do that, but what I believe is really important, so like the way we actually made, starting out, with just 4 people, having this product, this idea of building this photo sharing app, the most important thing is really focus. And also in hindsight, I would say it maybe was a mistake to go that's like 2.5 years ago, go to Android too fast and do the WinPhone thing as well. I think it was a mistake. I think the best thing you can do when you start out, try to find out what is the optimal platform you want to deliver, and build the stuff you really need. And then if you have more resources available at a later point, you can start actually expanding into multiple platforms.
Okay, let's see how basically Facebook platform has contributed to the increase of that audience or the user base of yours. So how do you see yourself using the platform? I mean, this is a platform that changes at the same pace maybe as your own platforms as well. Do you have any good tips for these guys out there of how do you keep up with the changes that are happening, the improvements that are happening, the new features that are getting in? Do you want to start?
I suspect that if you're creating an app, you're probably integrating lots of third-party services. So whether it's SDKs from Facebook, from Twitter, there might be multiple other things, Mixpanel, Fixu, all sorts of analytics things. And so you're faced with all your third parties who update. They tempt you with cool new features, and they sometimes want to deprecate the old versions. As long as you're fairly agile in your development process and you take it as 10% or whatever of your time is going to be updating, this is good. I think sometimes the initial versions are not as bug-free as you'd like them to be. Nothing to do with Facebook. There's always perfect first time. But you start finding also iOS forcing you as new iOS versions to do new things. I think you just look at it as a cost of business, and your partners are giving you cool new shiny things. One of the problems is perhaps not just updating to the new SDK, but to take advantage of the new SDK features. So, single sign-on and so on, which might mean quite radical differences to some of your sign-up flow and other parts of your UI.
I think for us, the answer is pretty simple. It's 2 things. One, it's login, using it for login and sign up. I mean, if you kind of look at the stats that were released a couple of days ago again, I think in your earnings call, 750 million people now log into Facebook every month on their mobile devices. So for me, it's pretty clear that at any point, at any given time during a month, you will have millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people that have active sessions on their active Facebook sessions on their mobile phones. So using that as a login mechanism is just a no-brainer for us. Second of all, I think Facebook has historically and still is providing us with lots of distribution. So if you have functionality within your applications that suit well to basically use for the timeline. And specifically, the collection piece has been very interesting for us lately, but also obviously the news feed and so on. That will generate tons of distribution for you. For us, it's keeping up with the development and changes there is absolutely necessary for distribution purposes.
So Facebook bought Instagram, and obviously at the same time that we can accommodate Instagram on the platform itself, we can accommodate products as competing, let's say, with Instagram like yours. So have you seen any difference in your access to cool features of the platform?
I mean, this is always a very interesting question. So the moment when you run a company and you realize Facebook is buying like one of your key competitors, it feels a bit strange, obviously. Yeah, and you're like, okay, what's going to happen? So actually, the take we have on this is a very open one. We believe that, or also I personally firmly believe that Facebook actually grows with the apps that are part of it, right? And the more apps of high quality are actually contributing to the value that is Facebook, sharing their stories on Facebook, the more valuable it is. So I think definitely Instagram might have 1 or 2 advantages, honestly, because I believe like new stuff that is actually being tested and so on, they will probably roll it out there first. But they will test it there, and as soon as it is something reliable and stable that's useful, it will get available for us. Yeah? And I mean, I think it's very open, so we have good contacts, for example, with Heiko over there, and Stefan as well, so we can just talk to you guys, and you're actually supporting us in doing that.
Good to hear that.
And that's a good point, so because in the early days, this was quite different also for us, for Runtastic, so there was a change in the API, but we had nobody to talk with about the change or about the guidance, how we should deal with that. So that was really very difficult for us. I think it was a year ago, so where we met someone at Facebook, where we have a direct contact and can get a reply and answer within a day at least. Yeah. So this has changed really to a good direction, because before it was kind of okay. There's the big Facebook and there's the small Runtastic, but there is a large barrier in between. And so this is also a tip for you guys. So yeah, get in contact, I think, with the Facebook stuff here. And yeah, so if you have questions, I think that's a good.
Here is another question for you. I mean, was it that hard to integrate the SDK that you needed help, or you could do it yourself? And how long did it take you?
I mean, the integration of the SDK itself is technically not that complicated. I think the most brain work is needed before, because you have to think, okay, how you best integrate it into your mobile application. So what are the use cases? So you mentioned, okay, the login thing. So login is also very important for us. So we also did the login, the one-time login click. So we have about 1/3 of our users who register take the Facebook login. Yeah, the other thing is, okay, where else you have to integrate, or you should integrate Facebook in your mobile application. So I think that's the hard work you have to do, and in which situations you offer a share dialogue. So when the user is in a good mood and he has accomplished something. So in our case, okay, when he had done an activity. So that I think that's the more hard work. The technical integration itself, I mean, okay, there have been, or there are frequent changes, and you have to keep up with them, but the plain integration itself is not that.
So I think you raise a good point, and I'm going to actually ask Anthony. Sometimes I talk to people that think of Facebook as an afterthought, right? They basically implement the core product, and they come to us and say, oh, please help us get distribution. But do you think an integration with Facebook, or any social type of integration, has to be embedded in the core function of the product, or it can be an afterthought and then you can leave?
Well, if you build it in as an afterthought, then I think your users will perceive it as an afterthought. You know, it's obviously the login or Facebook Connect is one of the key ones, but there are lots of things, and some of them span. I'd like to segue slightly, because one of the things that I find quite interesting is again, in the app versus HTML area. You know, the beauty of the web is things link together, and the problem with apps is every app is an island, and it's a crazy world where you have a desktop filled with more and more little individual apps. And I think Facebook is doing some nice things to help them connect together. And so in Zeebox, you know, we allow direct in-linking. Every TV program has a unique URL or namespace, URI, and we integrate very nicely with Facebook, so you can jump directly you know, from Facebook posts, people click on it going back to that very same show. In the app section in Facebook on mobile, you can jump from Zeebox to Facebook and back. And so I think that some of these SDK integrations, you don't need to think of it just as the login. There are many other ways that you can treat apps with this beautiful interconnected network that you find on the web by using some of the other features. I think one of the most challenging features with the Facebook SDK integration these days is not so much the coding of it, but the dashboard portal begins to offer more and more functionality. And it's not always obvious what these things do. What are the watch actions? If I click this, will I break everything? Before your app is live, it's okay, but once it's live, it's sort of very worrying. I'm going to push this button, and my entire login system will stop, or I'll begin posting weird things. That bit's, to me, the scariest bit, because you're operating in a live environment. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I can only agree. I was just you know, looking into some stats this morning, and it was asking me if I wanted to deploy something live. So I'm still pretty worried that something will break. But you know, we have pretty good systems in place to basically protect you from that thing.
I think we talked a little bit about identity. We touched upon it and how important is identity for you as a core feature and stuff. But what about distribution of actions, core actions that the users take within your app? What is that you do on Open Graph, for example, that gets you the right distribution on the newsfeed, on the timeline? What is that drives traffic back to you, basically? What are the techniques?
Yeah, for us it's really like we tried out a lot, and I think it always makes sense, you know, to try out, especially if you like a bit smaller, just try to like come up with new actions and experiment what's working. But like for us, really, the outcome was that we always try to share stuff, especially to the Open Graph, when it's making sense for the user, right? So what we did is, we had some very radical Open Graph actions like the Discover action, which we don't have now anymore, which was essentially just sharing on your Open Graph while you're looking at a photo. And this is like happening so passively, and people got extremely surprised. So what we try to do now is actually...
So that was a bad example of...
Yeah, that was a bad example, yeah. So I think it's important to find like the good sharing points, like as you guys mentioned before as well. When does it make sense for me to share? When do I want to share? And what makes sense? So photo likes is what we do. Explicitly, we have the take action, so actually taking a photo, which makes a lot of sense. And we do also share comments and follows to a certain extent. Some users switch this off as well, but for us that makes sense. So everything that goes beyond that is maybe just too abstract and too much on top.
And between the two of you, I think with the latest launch of collections in the timeline, both activity done within a fitness app, but also within a music app, is being published under the user's profile. What does that mean for you? I mean, besides building a great profile for the user, do you get traffic back from this?
You want to start? Or? Okay. Okay, so just to step back a little bit, I mean, if you look at what we have done historically in the last 2 years, our users have been posting a lot of actions towards the Facebook Open Graph. On a monthly basis, it's in the billions. And the important thing there is to really make it very clear how to toggle it on and off and so on, to make the user experience as good as possible. For us, that's been driving a lot of distribution. Now, in more recent times, we've added new stories, which are not just pure listen stories, new stories that are sort of like a discovery layer story. So potentially it could be Christian just listened to this album of 30 Seconds to Mars that just became available. So then we're adding discovery on top of what usually was just a social story. So that is extremely interesting, and we are seeing very high CTRs coming off of that. Now adding the collection functionality on top of that, it's adding another layer of discovery to us. And as I was telling you, Konstantinos, just before we came up here, we're seeing very good traction when it comes to timeline and collections.
It's coming on mobile, right?
It's coming on mobile. We're already seeing that coming through a little bit on mobile. So.
Yeah, and for our case, just for short, so we have integrated the Facebook Open Graph fitness actions. So these are really actions which are available for the public. So they are not custom actions defined by ourselves. So these are like listen to music. There is running or biking or walking available. And yeah, we also have integrated these Open Graph actions and use explicit sharing for such events, so that they're really in the timeline of the user and visible to the consumers. And yeah, I mean, we do not have that high percentage of referring traffic from aggregations, but still it's really worth to do this.
Cool. So, Anthony, besides all those organic distribution channels, I think you guys have tried the mobile app installs when you recently launched in the US. How do you find the experience of launching in a new market with some, sponsored channel help? And how successful has that been for you?
Right, so, for an app distribution, it's two parts. One, you need some organics. You need to get some people to know about it, and then you need viral so that they'll go and tell their friends, and you need to start the whole process. So in our US operation, we're using some of the Facebook mobile app and ads, and we're just trying it, not in any great deal, but it's quite fascinating because it's a very nice SDK, and we're using some like modeling. So what we do is using our analytics system, model Zeebox users who use the app the most. What are the TV shows they like watching? What kind of behaviors can we infer? And then working with Facebook, you can get from a huge pool of Facebook users the similar kind of grouping. So is it people who like Kim Kardashian, or is it people who watch a lot of Top Gear, or whatever it might be? And you can then go and target those people to drive down your cost per new install. And although we have only been flirting with it, the numbers are not very big in terms of the dollars we're spending. It's quite fascinating as a targeting and intellectual exercise, and the tools are actually fantastic to use.
And Spotify has 26 million users, you said? Did I get that right?
Over 24.
Do you still
Is
need
the official
help?
number.
Do you need help with this kind of channels, and how do you use them?
Definitely. I mean, there are 1 billion smartphones out there, and we're not 1 billion users yet. So we definitely look into all kinds of distribution, both organic and paid. And as Anthony just said, it's the same for us, and we're also just testing the waters out. But I can tell you guys that it's working out really well. And there's one specific thing that I found is especially impressive, and that's for those of you who know how to buy clicks. You'll always sort of tend to focus on what's the install rate, right? If you buy a click at a certain cost, then what basically makes you make or break is how many of those clicks actually ultimately install the application, right? So, and that install rate has been fairly high with Facebook, and it all has to do with friction again, right? So if you kind of go into the app and you see a mobile install app ad, and then you click install now, then you basically get the app on iOS, at least you get the App Store, swipe in as a native view. So it doesn't app switch back to the App Store. So this simple thing to reduce friction is amazing. That has proven to give us very high install rates. And with higher install rates, you get lower cost per install. With lower cost per install, you afford to buy more. If you afford to buy more, then you're going to be bigger, and then you can buy even more.
Have you tried other channels, or is
yeah.
that your own channel now?
Oh yeah, no. Personally, I've been trying all kinds of channels on mobile. All the way back to like 2008. I used to be with this company called King.
Oh, really?
Who was making games, and it's always been extremely fragmented, the mobile install market on the paid side. And I remember back in the day when we were buying off of people like Tapjoy and Flurry and so on. There was these incentivized schemes, and you could get tons of traffic off of there. And then from there on, it became buying through services like Free App a Day and so on, where they were promoting installs to their already big user bases and so on. And then back to iAds, and then back to AdMob, and then now it's all about Facebook. But I can tell you that the Facebook experience is actually one of the cleanest and best ones for us.
Good to know. So I have one last question for you, and then I turn to the audience. What do you think is going to be a mobile trend in the next 2 to 3 years, or even more? And this is a question for all of you. So you want to start, Anthony?
Oi, now I'm on the spot. I don't know any better than you. All I can say is that Samsung's going to make mobile phones that are bigger than tablets. No, but I mean, having actually just spoken about mobile and tablet, and having gone, great, we've got a mobile and we've got a tablet. Then now you've got a 7-inch tablet, and you've got a 6.5-inch mobile, and then the form factor's different. And I've got a giant desktop with a touch screen. It gets a bit confusing. I think we will see fantastic things from Android, which will make it incredibly sexy in the next year, would be my take. And I think developers will start doing very clever things on Android, which haven't been possible or aren't possible today on iOS, including we see Facebook Home as, I'm guessing, the taster for that. Once people get an idea, they start running wild with how you can do it. Can you have your apps updating on the desktop? And I think that perhaps will be one of the revolutions that we see, that you don't have to enter each app and exit. You'll start seeing the surface alive with apps in parallel.
Looking forward to that.
Well, so we're undergoing this tectonic shift where everybody is basically focusing on mobile, and all users are moving on to mobile and so on. We too think that, and we too invest a ton into that. What I do think is going to happen after a while here is now that people will start focusing not only on the sort of mobile first kind of perspective, they will go more cloud first. So we're seeing, especially with people that are on multiple platforms, so both mobile and maybe a tablet, and also on desktop, and maybe even another connected device, we're seeing engagement become higher for those types of users. And with higher engagement, you get higher conversion, and with higher conversion, you get more monetization.
More money to invest.
more money to invest in paid distribution, right, so on Facebook. No, so for us, it's really about stepping back, looking really hard at mobile and how that's going to affect our user base and how we can grow more using mobile distribution, but also not forgetting about the other platforms that are still going to be there years from now.
Good. Chris?
Yeah. I also think so. The mobile smartphone sales forecasts for the next 5 years are quite good. So there is really much room for new cool apps and increasing audience also for all of us here. But I think, as you have mentioned, that the cross platform experience is also very important. So think about cars or think about TVs, smart TVs at home. So these are all platforms where the people will interact and where they want to have, if they use your app, they want the best experience in each situation they are. So I think, the connected world, it gets even more connected, but in different scenarios and with different gadgets, but even more automated and wireless and more better interworking.
I actually agree with that. So I mean, obviously mobile, but what I think is more important, or at least my understanding, is that what we're actually heading towards is like more simplicity. And I think this has been a very positive effect of mobile phones on all the technology that is being built, is because it's just incredibly easy to handle. So we've been talking about cross-platform. You pick up your phone, after that your laptop, and it's available right there. And for us, it's really really about this very simple interaction and consumption of technology. That's what we're trying to build as well. And if I see chat heads, for example, I think that's incredibly great because it's just so simple and it makes sense, right? And I think our task will be in the future to have these kind of UIs and beautiful design, but have this supported by technology as well. So what we're trying to do with EyeEm, for example, is to find a very easy and intuitive way to deliver you stuff that's simply more relevant and make that extremely simple, right? So instead of just showing all kinds of photos, we try to bring it right to the spot on your mobile phone. And I think that's what it's really about.
Well, thank you, gents. And we'll open up for a couple of questions from the audience. We shouldn't keep you too long from drinks, so.
Hi guys, Arish from Branded. I've noticed some things over the past year about the Facebook platform that they're making it less easy to do kind of like broadcast shares or like grow fast like they used to be able to in the early days. That Zynga took advantage of and things like that. In fact, July 13th this year, they're going to shut off many to the send requests to many, which is like Facebook requests to like many people. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they're replacing that with something else or like what Facebook's guidance is around doing more aggressive sharing. I don't know, are you trying to tell us to do less aggressive sharing, or like what are the things that you guys have found that are successful in replacement of those kinds of aggressive sharing techniques?
Well, I'll tell you what I think, and then I'll pass to these guys. So that's not the official view, but my view is that you have to do as aggressive as your user likes to. Because at the end of the day, your user doesn't need to be a spammer for his friends. Your user has to decide in context what makes sense for certain friends and invite those friends that will take advantage of the app. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to acquire users that won't be engaged with your app. If I come to your app, use it once, and then stop using it, it's a waste. You want to make sure that I am a moderator of who from my friends should use the app because I think that it's going to be a good user for you. Make sense? But yeah, if you have any thoughts.
I think you should send your question to Mark at fb.com. But jokes aside, but it seems that this is really a giant social experiment overall. And just like in real life, if there's ever a predator that's too successful, they're going to die out because there has to be an equilibrium. If you ever are finding a hole in the system, that hole has to get shut down. And so, for example, in eBay, buyers would get screwed by sellers, and so you could then rate the seller, but then you have to rate the buyer. And so you have this sort of cozy ecosystem. As soon as it gets out of whack, sort of the central authority in the nicest possible way has to devise new rules so that everyone plays nicely. And it seems to be, in the case of Facebook, it doesn't seem to be a malevolent thing, but as people find new ways or technology provides new opportunities, if the cozy ecosystem gets completely out of whack, then you have to adjust the social rules to ensure a fair space, would be my reading. So whenever you see something taking off too much, be it too much open graph or whatever, you would expect a reaction to restore that equilibrium.
Any further thoughts?
For us, it's been pretty self-moderating, right? So the kind of focus we have is this race against relevancy, right, when it comes to stories. So we too use app requests, and we use all kinds of stories that are out there and so on. So what's important for us is basically to find the stories with the highest CTR, right? So if we get a high CTR story, we'll try to sort of move everybody to post that type of story, right? Because it makes more sense to the people who get the story, and it makes more sense for the guys who post to actually get the story clicked on. So, and we've found it to be extremely self-modulating. So the more we focus on the relevant stuff, the more we get back. I think both. If you have something interesting to say via request, then most definitely. Recently, we just broke a record on our own platform together with Daft Punk, with the Get Lucky track. And in that example, what we did was we looked at everybody who had who's following Daft Punk, and we thought, hey, maybe these guys are users are interested in hearing now that this song is now available on Spotify, and an app request for that is amazing, right? We got tremendous CTR from that. So,
well, I'm afraid we have to finish it. Yeah, I would like to thank you, Anthony, Alex, Chris, Lorenz, for being here, joining me in this panel, and thank you, guys. And I would like to get Simon back on stage for the finishing notes. Thank you.
Hey. Hey, guys. Thanks. 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 KP, see you in the office tomorrow. Now, I realize I am the only thing between you and beer. So this is an unenviable place to be, but a couple of little things first. If you went to one of the Android sessions or checked the group earlier, Marcus from Sony Mobile posted a raffle, and you get to win a Sony Xperia Z. Who'd like to know who the winner is? Stuart Tarpey from Bubble Pixel. There he is. Give him a round of applause. Congratulations. Get a free phone. Thank you very much to Sony Mobile. Great partners, awesome Android devices. Now, it's been a long day. Remember me? I was on stage very, very early on at 10 o'clock this morning, and hopefully you've learned a bunch of stuff since. We've covered a lot, right? We've covered the new Object API, the native share dialog, the object browser, new faster login dialog, the iOS SDK, the new iOS SDK, the Android SDK, the JavaScript SDK, timeline, news feed, graph search, games feed, wrong order, App Center, bookmarks, requests and invites, Open Graph, collections on timeline, mobile app install ads, mobile sponsor stories, custom audiences, deep linking, cross-platform, it won't go fast enough, how we built our iOS apps, how we built our Android apps, how we made our mobile web apps faster, Rate Shake, dog fooding, Buck, which is awesome, XC Tool, which we open sourced today. That's pretty cool. Yeah. That didn't make it into the slides, I'm afraid. Developer alerts, Spotify, Zeebox, EyeEm, and Runtastic, and Pars. We're really excited about Pars. Can you tell? So, thank you for coming today. What we do next is office hours. Over there is beer and T-shirts. We really appreciate your feedback on today, right? Like, what would you change if we were going to do this in 6 months? What did you enjoy? What did you hate? Please tell us. There is a survey in the group. At the end of the survey is a code word. You need that code word to pick up your T-shirts. So now it's time for office hours. Over there we have 6 pillars, and you can go and hang out with the pillar of the product that you want to speak most about. But before you go anywhere, I wanted to introduce you to some people from Facebook. Guys, if you work for Facebook, come over here. Keep coming. There's more of them. Keep coming. Elka, you too. Paul. Okay, so these are the guys who are going to be over there answering your questions. How many people have seen this many people from Facebook in one room before? One person. He works here. Who is that? There you go. So this is the Facebook crew. In this crew, we have engineers, we have partner managers, we have product managers, we have people from developer advocacy. Who am I missing? Oh, our games team, that's partner managers, isn't it, Keith? So we have a games team here as well. Sadly, they don't have a pillar. Where are you going to stand? By the bar, right?
Yeah, just by the beers.
By the beers. Okay, that's good. So this is the Facebook guys. So I want to say thank you to these guys for helping to put together today. And putting together an event like this doesn't come easy. There's guys who do the food. There's guys who do the ticketing. The AV guys especially. The set, the graffiti artists. Like a ton of stuff goes into making these events happen. So I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who's put their hard work in to make today what it is. Thanks. But, as I said at the start of today, you guys could have spent today doing something else. You guys could have spent today in your offices, like coding the next version of your app, building a new feature, or learning about something new from something else by some other company or somewhere else. You could have done all kinds of other things except hang out with us today. And we know your time is valuable, and the fact that you guys spent today with us means a huge amount to us. And hopefully, we've repaid that with what you heard and learned today. So the biggest thanks of today goes to you guys. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you at the next Facebook event here in London. Thank you very much. And now go and get some drinks.